on rich people. So I mean,
jobs.
so like your friends like Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all of those people.
What people? Give me an idea.
Like your friends, like Elon Musk. They're the ones.
Agree, my friend. But who else? Like, I'm just trying to decide who's rich.
Who's rich? Your friends.
No, this is the big problem
These
for
are your
Democrats.
friends.
You can never define who's rich.
I'm telling you exactly, your friends.
Because when you come.
What do you think is going to happen when GM's profits suddenly drop? What will happen to GM and the people that work there?
The CEO herself, Mary Barra, thanked President Trump for this because she is a patriot. And
right about the time when Americans start to feel it, it might actually be too late to stop the country from tipping right into a recession.
Well, what could happen?
Prayer is always, always, always,
what about
always
a plan?
applicable.
Do we have a plan? Is a plan an option too? I don't know.
Listen, the next to that.
I love you so much, and I really do. But occasionally you break my heart.
Well, don't.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this panel. This was an odd one. Batya saying a bunch of nonsense. Scott flirting, having a brain malfunction. Let's get right into it, and we'll talk about it.
Tonight, the economy keeps warning this presidency, and this presidency keeps shrugging its shoulders. McDonald's sees its worst quarter since COVID. GM says tariffs will cost them $5 billion this year. Apple says it'll cost them nearly $1 billion this quarter alone. The U.S. is weeks away from supply chain disruptions, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is pleading with Trump to save small businesses and prevent a recession. The White House's response to this? Go fish.
Is the administration considering small business tax tariff relief?
The relief for small businesses is going to come in the form of the largest tax cut in American history.
So that's a no on tariff relief for small businesses in the short term?
It's a yes on tax relief for small businesses.
But don't worry, should this expansive economic agenda fail to pass Congress, the president says he's got a backup plan. Prayer.
We love that bill. I won't like it if it doesn't pass, neither will you. Doesn't pass, your taxes are going to go up 68%. So think of it, 68, and this is a religious ceremony to me, but that's part of the religion. Because if your taxes go up 68%, you might give up your religion.
Just living on a prayer, right, Batya?
Prayer is always, always, always,
what about
always
a plan?
applicable.
Do we have a plan? Is a plan an option too? I don't know.
Listen, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, all up today. They've recovered everything that they lost since Liberation Day. Things are actually going really, really well. This whole thing about GM, the CEO saying that they're going to be, there's going to be a $5 billion cost to the tariffs. But she also said something very important. She said this will not be passed on to the consumer. So where is it going to come from, you might wonder? Well, they brought down their projections.
Not all of it will be caught.
No, she said none of it will be passed on to the consumer, that this will come out of the profits. They projected 14 billion profits. They're taking that projection down to 10 billion. This is what we want.
Okay, but wait.
This is what we want.
Okay.
We want tariffs. So we want manufacturing. We want the billionaires to pay their fair share, and we want the cost not to be passed on to the consumers. And that's what we're seeing. Such a great example.
Hold on. Let me just.
All right. She said a lot of garbage there that needs to be clarified. The economy is not doing well. GDP declined for the first time in over 3 years, I think. And that happened during the Biden administration while we were still recovering from Trump's pandemic and Trump's economy during the pandemic, and how the brainless moron ruined everything. Completely didn't take it serious. So first off, the stocks are back to normal because first they saw that Trump backed off nearly all the tariffs except China, and they probably suspect that he's going to do the same. But also the effects of tariffs are just not right away. They're lagging. Some things in the economy happen right away. Some things are lagging. They take a little bit for it to, show out. And so they have other investments that they can get into in bonds and stay with the investments for now. Right? We still have the supplies that we have currently in the country. The products that we currently have in the country for the most part are not tariffed yet. It's the next, shipment essentially. And these CEOs are not stupid. They know how to play the game. The reason the CEO said they won't be the tariff costs won't be passed on to the consumer is because as the car maker, they don't actually set the price of cars. That's why a few months ago you saw the car dealerships complaining, because they understand that The market sets the price, right? Like GM just sets an MSRP, but that's not the actual price. The actual price is honestly based off supply and demand. So the prices for sure will go up, not because GM made the price higher. It's the market will do it naturally, simply because we are importing less cars, because obviously the cars are going to be too expensive to import, which obviously will create a supply issue. A lack of supply of cars will cause pressure on prices to go up, as there's just not going to be enough cars going around. It's worse than that, but we'll get into that later. And plus the jobs part. If a company is making less money, right? $5 billion less this year. How is that helping Americans? Like, how does that directly help Americans? They're not going to have more money to hire people or increase wages or promotions. You think any of that's going to happen when they lost $5 billion that they thought they were going to have? And trust me, I don't mind companies paying more. But if they're paying more in taxes, it's really the issue. Because in theory, if they paid more in taxes, we could pay less in taxes. If the super rich paid more in taxes, we could pay less. And again, consumer confidence is at the level it is right now during COVID under Trump. So because consumers aren't comfortable buying, demand is down on things like cars and everything else. So we're in a situation that's rough, where there's just going to be less supply of everything, less demand for everything because people don't have money and don't feel comfortable. And then you also are going to have higher prices for everything because of the tariffs. Trump and the Republicans caused an absolute mess here. And it comes down to economics. Republicans just don't know what they're doing with the economy. They've shown it again and again. Please let me know if you need me to clarify further in the comments. I love talking about the stuff, and sorry for the long rant there.
Just try to understand this. So GM's profits will decrease probably significantly as a result of this. Let's take that.
I'm telling you what they said.
I know. I'm just saying. Okay, let's take that to the next. What do you think is going to happen when GM's profits suddenly drop? What will happen to GM and the people that work there?
The CEO herself, Mary Barra, thanked President Trump for this because she is a patriot and she understands that the situation we're in with China is not sustainable.
Shareholders would like to have a word.
We sold out our future to China. Somebody had to do something about that.
Shareholders
the
would like to have a word.
The corporation's going to take.
She's lying. Really quickly, she thanked Trump because he backed off the auto parts tariff. He paused those, which affect literally every single car that GM makes. That's the reason she thanked him. She's an effing liar.
Take less money. They're going to eat the profits out of the sense of
It's so
patriotism.
great to hear Democrats suddenly being so, pro-corporation and pro-corporate.
No. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm not being pro-corporation. I'm actually being pro-people, because what's bad for the corporation is going to be bad for the worker. Now, look, I couldn't care less about
Sound
any.
like Mitt Romney
Listen. I'll be honest with you. I couldn't care less about any of the corporations.
Corporations are people, my friend.
They're not. Just listen to what I'm saying.
It's like upside down world.
It is. But look, I couldn't care about any of the corporations that were just listed. But what I do care about is the fact that I know a lot of people who own small businesses, and a lot of those people rely on like durable supply chains, and they are worried about what's going to happen. A guy I know runs a business called Actively Black. He makes sportswear. He gets a lot of his stuff from overseas. He is looking at the end of his business if something doesn't happen soon. And there are Americans that are looking at the end of their businesses throughout this summer and the next 6 months all over this country. And it's just a fact. We can act like it's something else, but that's actually true. What happens to those people?
I don't dispute that we have gotten addicted to cheap stuff from China, but we paid an enormous price for it. China owns almost $1 trillion of our debt. That means our grandkids are going to be paying off the interest on that debt. In exchange for what? A bunch of tchotchkes. It's unsustainable.
Okay.
We had to make
Okay,
a change.
let me
and
just-
this president had the guts to do it.
So look, Trump is changing things for sure. Here's what's happening for consumers, okay? This is the New York Times. The reason consumers haven't felt the effects yet is because it takes 20 to 40 days for a container ship to go all the way across the Pacific Ocean. Then it takes another 10 days for Chinese goods to make their way by train or truck to cities across the country. The major effects on the U.S. economy of shutting down trade with China will become apparent summer 2025, when the United States might slip into recession. That's according to an economist at Apollo. So right about the time when Americans start to feel it, it might actually be too late to stop the country from tipping right into a recession.
Well, what could happen between now and then? The president and Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and the team are currently negotiating dozens of trade deals with, the 17 to 20 countries that actually matter. They are also obviously talking to the Chinese government as well. So I think you can't discount the idea that trade deals and negotiations and announcements could be made between now and then. That's number one. Number two, back to the issue of Congress. Failure is not an option. And as a message to the Republicans, you have to pass the president's agenda. You have to cut taxes for the American people. And it's good policy, but it's also good politics. Right now, the biggest bright line, and you're going to see this argued for weeks between the Republicans and the Democrats, other than immigration, which is huge, is on taxes. President Trump wants to cut them, the Democrats want to raise them, and the Republicans need to get behind the commander-in-chief and do it.
Raise them on the super rich, not everyday people. The Republicans are going to do again the tax cut that caused a mess when Trump did it. Part of the reason that the economy broke during COVID is because 90%, Republicans out there, 90% of the benefits of those tax cuts went to the super rich, while you got $100 more a month, $80 more a month. If that. This is what they're planning on doing again, a tax cut for the American people. It's just such garbage. And then Baya there talking about Americans got addicted to cheap stuff. They're really talking about that we should get comfortable. We should be more comfortable paying for more expensive stuff. Again, we have to fork over the bill. Forget about the super rich paying their taxes and watch this conversation here.
No, Democrats do not want to raise taxes.
Yes.
Democrats do not want to raise taxes. I just want to say that right.
Well, they want to
there.
raise taxes on rich people.
Well, on rich people.
True.
So
People with jobs.
so like your friends like Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all of those people.
What people? Give me an idea.
Like your friends, like Elon Musk. They're the ones.
Agree, my friend. But who else? I'm just trying to decide who's rich.
Who's rich? Your friends.
No, this is the big problem
These
for
are your
Democrats.
friends.
You can never define who's rich.
I'm telling you exactly, your friends.
Because when you come right down to it, what Democrats believe is that anyone who pays taxes is rich enough to have them increased. If you vote against this bill, then the tax cuts will expire, and everybody with a job who pays taxes, their tax will go up. That is a Democrat position, is it not?
Can I ask a question? Because both of you mentioned this.
Oh, wow. Scott Jennings, bird-like brain, really had a hard time there. Wow, that was embarrassing. He tried so hard to come up with something, and he just malfunctioned, repeating the same thing over and over. Like who? Like your friends, Elon Musk, Trump, and all the other 13 billionaires that are in Trump's administration right now, the most in history. What's going on, Scott? You seem so angry. Can't seem to control your emotions there, little guy.
Happens when the U.S. economy is slowing, and then Congress votes to raise the deficit by trillions of dollars, and so now we have more debt. How does that work? I mean, how does that make us put us in a better fiscal position?
I think, well, first of all, they do need to restrain spending. I've been talking about this for months. I think we ought to go back to the pre-COVID spending levels. They probably won't get there, but we need to have a combination of tax cuts and spending cuts. And that's what they're trying to find right now.
Sounds like what they're doing is just adding more and more to the proverbial Christmas tree. No taxes on anything, but they don't want to pay for a single part of it. That, I feel like, to your point about grandchildren, children and grandchildren inheriting the debt, they are ladening more generations with even more debt, and then also at the same time putting on the table the possibility of a major slowdown economically.
So we are generating revenue from the 10% global tariffs right now, although, of course, we're going to be making those trade deals, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. I think Scott and I disagree on this. I think they should raise taxes on the rich. I don't understand why that's not consistent with the president's promises to the middle class.
I hate it when you break my heart, because I love you. I love you so much, and I really do, but occasionally you break my heart.
Well,
Don't. No taxes. No taxes.
The math doesn't make sense.
That's a mic drop moment. We'll just leave that there. Coming up next for us, the panel.
Wow, Baya she gained a new brain cell. There you go, Baya. And yes, Kamala said anyone over making $400K, taxes should be higher. And Republicans absolutely freaked out. She said she would go after price gouging from these companies taking advantage of the environment that we were in at the time. Republicans freaked out. I wonder why that is, Trump voters. Because they care about you so much, right? Tariffs for you, tax breaks for them. Republicans out there, are you starting to see that the party you support for who they really are? They're fooling you. Literally, they're fooling you on every front. And I hate to say it. I don't really hate to say it, but they think you are easily fooled. They think you're dumb. That's why. Are you going to keep proving to them that you are? And then it starts, and you hear Scott Jennings and it starts to lie. Taxes are going to go up on everyone. The Democrats want to tax everyone. Find me a Democrat that said that. No one ever said that. It's about taxing the rich. Why would we tax the American people, especially at a time like this? Why would we tariff the American people, especially at a time like this, where people are struggling? They have to lie and argue as to why the rich should be paying tax. They cannot argue that, right? This is why they have to blur the lines and lie. They cannot argue why the rich should be continue to pay less taxes, and now even more tax cuts for them. And I just had the most disturbing thought right there. Scott was clearly flirting with her. Like, could you imagine if they had a kid? That kid would be insufferable. Yelling and making stupid faces like his mommy and daddy. I'm obviously kidding. Sometimes kids come out very different from their parents, especially if you had parents like those two fools. But I'm just ranting now. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please like, subscribe. It really helps the channel. Really helps to get the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.